6:30 p.m. and I call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for Tuesday, August 6th, 2024. First item of business is to call the meeting to order and announce that the quorum is present. And the second item is approval of the minutes. Any questions? Comments? If not, I'll take a motion, and please speak your motions tonight.
A motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
A motion to approve the minutes by Jack. Ainsley seconds.
By Rick.
All in favor? Rick. See, I'm so glad to see you. The motion was by Rick. The second was Ainsley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Yeah, because the system's not working tonight, we have to speak our motions. First order of business are regular hearings. The final plat of Zen Estates Edition, lots 1 through 6, Block A, on .2389 acres out of the August G. King survey, abstract number 698, zoned Old Town Mixed Use 2 District, located at 302 East Church Street, being a replat of a portion of Lot 1, Block 11, Keeley Edition, case number 24078 FP.
Good evening, Commissioners. The final plat of Zen Estate Edition was submitted on July 12, 2024, and has been reviewed by staff. Staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission disapprove the plat of Zen Estates Edition for the deficiencies listed and delegate to staff the authority to accept and approve the plat once the listed deficiencies are corrected. The approved plat will be brought to the chair for signature.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioners? Comments? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Move to disapprove as provided by staff.
Excellent. Motion by Jack.
Second.
Second by Rick. Got the guys straight tonight. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next regular hearing is a final plat of Old Town Villas Edition, lots 1 through 8, Block B, on .303 acres out of the August G. King survey, abstract number 698, zoned Old Town Mixed Use 2, located at the northwest corner of Leonard Street and Main Street, being a replat of lots 7 and 8, Block 14, Keeley Edition, case number 24077 FP.
Good evening, Commissioners. So this plat was also submitted on July the 8th. Staff has reviewed it and provided a list of deficiencies within the staff memo. So staff's recommendation tonight is that the Planning and Zoning Commission disapprove the final plat of Old Town Villas Edition for the deficiencies listed and delegate to staff the authority to accept and approve the plat once the listed deficiencies are corrected. The approved plat would then be brought to the chair for signature.
Thank you, Michelle. Commissioners, questions? With no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to disapprove the plat and delegate authority to staff to approve once the deficiencies have been corrected.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Jack, by Rick, second by Jack. I'll get you guys straight eventually, I promise. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
I raised my hand a little bit late, so it was unanimous. All in favor?
Correct, it was
Okay, good.
unanimous.
Sorry.
Thank you. Consideration of an alternate standard associated with landscaping for an industrial warehouse on approximately 6.56 acres out of the Peter King Harmonson survey, abstract number 0604, located at the south corner of State Highway 121 Business and Vista Ridge Mall Drive, zoned light industrial, District as requested by Ryan Wyrick on behalf of COP Lovett 121 Logistics Park LLC, the property owner. 240710 ALT STD. This one we can see.
Good evening, Commissioners. So Lovett Industrial is a pretty standard industrial development and a pretty standard lot with a lot of really interesting context. So this lot is partially within the city of Capel and partially within the city of Lewisville. You guys have reviewed and approved an interlocal agreement between the two cities in the past governing the development of this site. Additionally, on the east side of the lot, there is this access aisle. And in the platting process, it was determined that it is a public right-of-way, but there was no determination on what entity was responsible for this right-of-way. So it's kind of a gray area there. And so the alternative standard being requested is to kind of, given these factors, is to alter how we handle the landscaping requirement here. So per our code, we have a requirement for a 30-foot wide landscape buffer with shade trees and ornamental trees, 30 feet apart, as well as shrubs. In this area on the south side, you can see it doesn't meet this requirement across the entire length. And at the shortest point, because of that parking lot encroaching, it's up to a 90% deviation of that 30 feet. And so the applicant is requesting to provide all the required plantings on this eastern side at other places around the lot. And they also provided additional landscaping buffer where possible, as you can see in the blue highlights there. Again, no one's going to be using this east side. This driveway kind of dead ends at, there's 3 properties that it connects to, the concrete batch plant to the back, and then the Feather Smash sports complex to the east. So staff has reviewed this project and feels that the provided alternatives meet our code's intent. And I'm happy to answer any questions. The applicant is here as well.
Is there a more informative, I don't recall the vicinity map. Is there any aerial photography of this site in the packet?
Yes, sir. One second.
Thank you.
So you can see that's where the road dead ends to the south on the 2 industrial sites.
We originally thought it was just a shared driveway, and then it did turn out to, in fact, be right-of-way.
Other questions, comments?
Just procedural, as this proceeds, is there going to be additional title research and right-of-way research done on this, and could it have an impact on us?
So it was, the data we got was pretty thorough from that. The issue is that it's kind of a no man's land, so to speak, of that we were able to trace it back, and it was deeded to and it was a whole bunch of documents that I think we are happy to share with you guys, but the city's not in the place.
So the short answer is I don't think that they want to pursue any more title work on this property. It's a right-of-way, and we're not sure who has the authority to abandon it and to make it a shared access driveway. I believe it might be TxDOT, as there was this continued in a straight line through the property to the north, but we're not 100% sure on that. And since it's really functioning like a shared drive, and there's no plans to build a street through there, we felt that the reduction in the landscape buffer and the addition of the plants and the widening of the landscape buffer in other areas was an appropriate alternative standard.
Okay. Thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to recommend approval for the alternative standard as presented.
Motion by Ainsley.
Second.
Second by Rick. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Would you all mind saying aye very loudly and clearly for me?
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Commissioners, this item will be considered by the City Council as part of our regular hearing on Monday, August the 19th, 2024 at 7 o'clock p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to the public hearings. We have 3 this evening. The first is a public hearing consideration of a special use permit for manufacturing medium intensity on a portion of 1.426 acres, legally described as Lot 5, Block A, Pinnell Subdivision, Phase 2, located at 1495 North Keeley Avenue, zoned light industrial district, as requested by David Velasquez on behalf of WH Real Estate Group, LLC, the property owner. Case number 240712 SUP.
So medium intensity manufacturing, it requires an SUP in the zoning district. And so the applicant is requesting to go into 2 lease spaces within this existing industrial development. When we were reviewing it, we found that the medium intensity manufacturing wasn't incompatible and wouldn't disrupt any of the adjacent or surrounding uses. He creates custom furniture that's direct to consumer, so there's no individuals coming into the shop. He will be having a paint booth, which is already a part of the lease space, and the parameters around that will meet fire code. This has already been reviewed by our fire department, and before it is permitted, it will meet all other standards that we have. We don't foresee any negative impacts with this development. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions, comments? If not, I will open the public hearing. And at this point in time, if there's anyone who would like to speak, please come forward, state your name, and sign in. Having no one come forward, I will close the public hearing. Commissioners? Nothing further. I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the special use permit as presented.
Motion by Rick.
Second.
Second by Aram. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Having no opposition, motion passes.
Commissioners, this item will be considered by the City Council, who will hold a second public hearing and make a final decision on Monday, August the 19th, 2024 at 7 o'clock p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. The second public hearing is considering a zone change. Got it. Thank you. For a planned development multifamily 3 district to planned development townhouse 2 district on approximately 10.207 acre tract of land out of the A. Singleton Survey, abstract number 1138, located on the northeast corner of Lady Tesla Avenue and Essex Drive, and a concept plan amendment for the Realm South, specifically for 54.201 acres, with 50.562 acres located north of Lady Tesla Avenue, legally described as 5.562 acres out of the Amos Singleton Survey. It's a long one. Abstract number 1138 in the Benjamin Schoonover Survey, abstract 1209, including the above referenced 10.207 acres, and also including 3.459 acres located south of the intersection of Essex and Parker Road, 544, legally described as Castle Hills H3, Lot 2, Block A, as requested by Patricia Fant McAdams on behalf of Eric Stanley of Brecco Lands, CH, LLC, the property owner.
Good evening. Good evening, board members. So I wanted to just talk a little bit and just recap the history of Castle Hills and the zoning ordinances that apply to the Castle Hills area. In 1996, an agreement was signed with the development company with Bright for the city of Lewisville to annex Castle Hills at a later date. So since 1996, let me change this slideshow view, excuse me. That's better, okay. So since 1996, as properties have been platted, since that was within the city's jurisdiction and authority to oversee plats, they did list a zoning designation on all those plats. It wasn't that they were within our jurisdiction, we could actually zone them, but when we annexed them, we'd know what we were sort of basing it on. In that time, we did courtesy reviews of development projects, even though they were not subject necessarily to those regulations. The 1996 agreement also had some additional standards beyond what was in the development codes that the city of Lewisville had at the time. So after the property of, after Castle Hills was annexed, a planned development ordinance was adopted. And what this did was it ensured consistency with the regulations that had been happening in Castle Hills since 1996. So on all those plats, we pulled those zoning designations to be the base zoning districts for those areas. And in addition, we had a planned development that captured the processes and standards that Castle Hills had been abiding by. And so what this plan development also does is it states processes for amendments, and it did subdivide Castle Hills into 3 sub-districts for the purposes of amendments to the concept plan. And within the Realm sub-district, there are 2 further sub-districts. There's the Realm North, which is north of Windhaven, and the Realm South, which is south of Windhaven. And so those concept plans can be modified independently of one another. And that's just important context for the rest of the request. So what the applicant is requesting is a concept plan amendment for the Realm South. It really is only impacting approximately 54 acres, as was previously mentioned, and a rezoning of approximately 10 of those 54 acres. So this is the current concept plan for the Realm South. And so like I mentioned, they're rezoning 10 acres and updating the concept plan for the whole Realm South, but really only 54 acres are really being changed. And so I've got those 54 acres highlighted. I know this is very small and it's difficult to see. There's a small area that's just south of 544, but the bulk of the area where the concept plan is changing is north of Lady Tasala. And it's that vacant area that's east of the existing multifamily in Essex, north of Lady Tasala, and then west of the kind of townhome duplex community that's under construction. So what the summary of the proposed changes are: south of FM 544 Parker Road, the current concept plan calls for about 8 garden offices or small retail pad sites, likely 1 to 2 stories. The proposed concept plan calls for ground floor retail with residential above up to 5 stories. Looking at the rezoning area, it is 10 acres. It's north of Lady Tasala. What's currently shown on the concept plan is a multifamily wrap structure. And what's shown on their proposed with the base zoning district change is Townhouse 2, is a small front entry townhouse duplex subdivision. For the rest of that concept plan amendment, they are reconfiguring where the multifamily is going in those areas. So they've taken 10 acres and rezoned it from multifamily as a base district to Townhouse 2 as a base district, or that's the proposal. And so this would now be a mix of townhome and multifamily as opposed to simply straight multifamily. There are some changes to the open space. So north of Lady Tasala, they would be dedicating about a ½ acre to be a public park. That would be right at the northeast corner of Lady Tasala in Essex. In addition, there is a reduction of open space. I do want to point out that that's non-regulated open space. It's not required to be open space, but by rearranging those multifamily and adding the townhouses, it does reduce some of that area. South of FM 544, there's no significant changes. As far as the change in residential units, north of Lady Tasala, there's the addition of 87 townhomes. There's a possible reduction of multifamily units in the immediate area due to the addition of that townhomes taking up 10 acres, but the cap is not changed. So the overall amount of multifamily that could be built in the realm does not change. South of FM 544, it would be approximately 56 additional multifamily units over about 9,000 square feet of commercial development. To reference what that multifamily cap is, in the Castle Hills plan development, there is a limit on the number of multifamily units of 5,000 units. However, there are exceptions to that. So multifamily in Crown Center has its own separate cap apart from the 5,000. Crown Center is a different sub-district than the one we're talking about tonight with the Realm, and it has its own separate cap. And then also multifamily that's above ground floor retail commercial uses does not count towards the cap within the Realm sub-district. So within the Castle Hills primary and Realm sub-district, there's been 2,368 units built towards the cap. So there are still 2,632 that are remaining. And that's just for reference, so you guys are aware that there is a cap and we are tracking that. That was part of the plan development. So tonight, staff's recommendation is to recommend approval to the City Council for both the zone change of 10 acres from multifamily 3 to townhouse 2, and for the concept plan amendment for the Realm South, specifically for that 54 acres as shown. And the applicant is here tonight, and they have a presentation as well. So Patricia McAdams is here on behalf of the applicant, and I will get this.
Good evening. My name is Patricia Fant. I'm located at 4400 State Highway 121, Lewisville, Texas. I am a land planner with McAdams, and I'm here to talk about Castle Hills Phase 15. There we go. Oh, it doesn't change on this. Okay, sorry, excuse me. Okay, so the current zoning for the bright townhomes to the north right here in the yellow outline, that is PD MF3. And then to the south in this yellow outline, that is PD GB2, so general business 2 and multifamily 3. Oh no, this one didn't change. Apologies.
I don't know why. I'm not sure why it's not changing. Okay, double click.
Oh, but they're not seeing that. Yeah, that's not the slide that I'm looking at. This is the next slide, and that's the
previous slide.
That's the next slide after that.
Oh, what is going on? Apologies.
It's okay. To the south. Our proposed zoning, the yellow outlines are to remain the original zoning. So that yellow outline to the north is going to be MF3, continue to be, and then the yellow outline to the south is going to continue to be GB2. What we are proposing is about 10 acres of the blue outline to go from multifamily to townhome. So this is the original concept, and per the original concept, all 2,996 multifamily units were planned to be constructed in that yellow area. It's about 50 to 60 acres. And then the southern piece originally had 8 office retail lots on approximately 3 acres. The proposed concept plan. So per the proposed concept plan, approximately 2,696 multifamily units are planned to be constructed on the 50 to 60 acre development in the yellow area. This is because approximately 300 units were moved from this site to the north. Because of this allowed a new single-family housing type to be integrated into this area. And because of that, there are 87 townhomes now being proposed in the original multifamily area. Okay, so just to recap, comparing the original concept plans, we had 2,996 that were planned to be built there, and then now with the current proposed plan, there's 2,696 units. Those are approximate numbers because things are still being built. The southern piece originally had retail office and is now going to the retail on the bottom with multifamily stories on the top. And then lastly is the open space plan. So the annexation open space plan is to your left, and that had 0 acres dedicated, that had 0 acres of open space, and that was at time of annexation. And to the right is the Castle Hills PD. That had about 8 acres of dedicated acreage and about 30 acres of open space. And then now currently post Castle Hills PD, we're at about 8.5 acres dedicated and about 72 acres of open space currently. And I am here for questions, as well as Eric Stanley with Bright is also here with questions.
Questions? Comments?
In terms of density performance, has there been any change highlighted in terms of the number of people anticipated in the area, those sorts of metrics?
So the cap has remained the same with multifamily. It has not shifted. So there's going to still be the same amount of like multifamily units within the whole realm district.
Ainsley?
I might have gotten confused, but I thought there was going to be a reduction in open space, and then you said there was going to be an increase. So I'm just trying to figure out what I misunderstood.
Yes, so the open space that I talked about is non-regulatory open space. If you just compare the two concept plans for this, essentially the block together, you can see that there's much more open space that's shown on the concept plan. However, it is not required by the open space plan within the plan development ordinance. And that's why I wanted to refer to it as non-regulatory open space. So some of that space is being reduced by the addition of the townhomes and the reconfiguring of the multifamily structures. However, they are actually adding in a required dedication of about a half-acre park.
Okay, and those open spaces are protected from being...
Correct. So the spaces that were shown as open but weren't necessarily protected as such are now being protected.
Okay. Okay, and then my final question is, does the townhome population cap go towards the multifamily, or are those just two separate items?
No, they're two separate items.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Erin? I hear you thinking.
I'm good.
Okay, she's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I will open the public hearing. I have several comment sheets. If you wish to speak, please come forward, sign your name, and state your address. Even with the comments I have here, you are not required to come forward and speak, but if you wish to, we would like to hear you, please. I have one email and 7 comments. Please come. State your name.
My name is Rick Vidal. I live at 2801 100 Knights Drive.
Okay, excellent.
So something that's a little bit disturbing to me is that, number one, the 3.459 acres that everybody says is just to the south of this proposed development is in my backyard, literally in my backyard. And I didn't know, I received a notice in the mail late last week about the proposed zoning change for the 50 acres, which is probably 3/4 of a mile from me. And I looked at it didn't even think about it. That doesn't impact me whatsoever. It went into the trash. I did a little drive-by over there to see the property they're talking about. And on the way back, I noticed that the property directly behind my home has a rezoning proposal sign out there. So on Friday, I called the number, spoke to a very helpful young lady here in the zoning department or planning department, and became educated very quickly of what's proposed for that. And she gave me all the links that I needed to do a little research. And I think it's misleading in that what's there, first of all, that property was created by the realignment of FM 544. That did not exist before. That was actually the roadbed of FM 544. And so when they realigned it, it created that strip of property. And that's really what it is. It's a very small strip of property. It's kind of an awkward piece of property. Within the last year, they came in and they scraped it, they leveled it, they put in a fire hydrant, which they had to bring from across 544, and put up a sign that says retail for sale, 3.459 acres. And that's what the original zoning plan was, for 1 to 2 story retail office, and it's broken up into individual lots. That is not too, infringing on me. If there was an airport existing and I moved in next to the airport and they wanted to complain about an airport being next to me, I got no rights for that. If I move in and the plan is to build something that is perfectly acceptable, but now it's going to be changed to where it's a 5-story multifamily unit that is literally looking into my backyard. I've got an 8-foot privacy fence. I've got 15-foot decorative trees also blocking that. And a 5-story multifamily unit is going to be looking over the top of all that right into my backyard. I have no privacy, none whatsoever. My back patio, I cannot sit on my patio and enjoy a cocktail or enjoy any really entertainment or anything else in my backyard. So the notice that I received was about the 50 acres. Made no mention about the 3.5 or 459 acres. I think that it's being brushed over, frankly. It's an afterthought. Yeah, by the way, it's this little strip here south of 544. It's not connected to the 50 acres. It's at least a half mile, if not more, away. I'm within 200 feet of that space. And it's very much infringing on my use of my property and my privacy of my property. So that's what I'm here for tonight, is just because when I spoke with the young lady on Friday, came to light, did my research, and went, wow, this is not a good thing for me. And my neighbors too. So there's railroad tracks between me and there. The railroad tracks are below grade. My office, my home office, the second floor of my home, my driveway's right there. I cannot see the trains from my second floor. So there's that's the airport that I mentioned, is that the tracks were there. I knew they were there, but I can't even see a train going by. I can hear it a little bit, but that's it. But now I'm going to have, and that property, by the way, also is about 15 feet higher, and I've looked at the topo maps and things provided by the city of Lewisville. It's about 15 feet higher than my property. So they're already up here, and now you're going to be 5 stories above that. So the original zoning for that property, I think that's great. That's something that works very well. I think it's a good use for that property. A 5-story multi-use or multi-family unit, not a good fit for our neighborhood, not a good fit for me and my neighbors. So,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Thank you. State your name and your address, please.
Good evening, Daniel Jung, 733 Lady Tesla Avenue. I think many of us here this evening are surprised, those who live on Lady Tesla, when we saw the sign go up that said the zoning change. We were sold. We personally moved in 2020. We have an American Legends Homes, which I understand Bright Realty owns, the home builder. And just hearing before we came in here, many of my neighbors had said that we were all sold that there would be a park in front of us. We knew that there would be multifamily, but what we understood is there'd be a green space, some open space in front of us right there. But now, when the sign goes up, we're all surprised to hear that there is even already a plan for there to be multifamily across the board there. So many of us are surprised to hear now that there's a zoning change to townhomes. So first of all, we're surprised that it was a plan to be multifamily, the all apartments. And now, I guess we're not opposed. It sounds better to us for there to be townhomes there, but still, this is the first time for us. Me personally, where I live, I see an apartment right there. And now I'm hearing it's gonna be 5 stories tall. And so for us, we feel a little deceived. And now, what we're looking at now is, I guess, we're gonna see bright parking lot lights in front of us right at my doorstep. So I guess what we want to see is a little bit more detail in what we're going to be seeing, where exactly what the buildings look like. And yeah, I mean, I guess a little bit more honesty coming from the home builder and everything like that, so.
Thank you. Come ahead, state your name, please, and your address.
Annie Verghese, 713 Lady Tesala Avenue. So we moved in, we signed the contract with American Legend of November of 2019. And when we went to see the land, there was actually a small hill. And I still have the picture of how they sold it to us. And they said, there is this big hill there, and right in front of it would be a pond and a park. So that is the reason we signed that contract. And lo and behold, after some time, we see that hill being removed. They dug it out, and even our construction engineer was quite surprised that they removed that hill at the first place. And then now we come to find out there's going to be multi-story building, and we already have that now with the tapestry that they built up there. And now we feel very deceived by it, because it was proposed to us that there will be amenities. They did bring that in the backside, but in front they said there is going to be a park, and now it's a multi-story building. That's not fair, and the value of our house is going down with a multi-story building up there. I mean, I'm not against, I mean, they have it. They have it at the Realm, they have it at Tapestry, they have all that stuff. I don't mind having a a duplex like the townhomes that they're building that sort of goes with the whole neighborhood, looks like a house. I don't have a problem with that, but a multi-story building, and now they're talking about increasing the green space. When you're going to remove the park and the pond, how are they increasing the green space? So we felt completely deceived, and we are worried about the value of our house going down. So if we are going to have it right in front of our house, I mean, when at some point we want to sell it, people are going to not want to buy a house right in front of a multi-story building. So I just want to share my grief. Thank you.
Thank you. State your name, please, and address.
Yes, Alan Gonzalez. I'm on 805 Lady Tesala. Good evening. So I moved into my property last year in September 2023. Very similar to a couple of my neighbors that have testified. Me personally, I didn't know exactly what's going to be built in front of the property of the house. This whole area of Lady Tesala is single-family houses. They range between 2,500 to 3,300 approximately. It was my understanding there was going to be similar, a pond, a lake, some sort of park. It was really not sure what the builder, they didn't have clue really what was happening. I even checked with the city of Lewisville, the planning department on the website. I couldn't find anything that told me that was going to be initially already or designated as a multi-purpose, a multi-family property. So I do feel a little bit deceived as well. I kind of second, if there's going to be a rechange of that area, I would prefer duplex. Preferably, I wouldn't like the idea of coming out of my house and seeing a multi-story building in there in front of my property. Concerned about the value as well, the amount of money we paid for those properties and houses, brand new. Additionally, to the reference of Tapestry, which is already a multifamily unit on the other side, of the other street, kind of parallel, perpendicular to Lady Tesala, we already see traffic of vehicles parking on the roadway. I'm concerned that's going to be the same thing right in front of my house. So definitely very concerning to find out just now, because there's going to be there was going to be this public audience for a rezone, to find it this way, that was the intention of the space. And although I agree half of the location will now be townhomes, the other place on the right-hand side, it still affects my property where, even right in front of my house, there's the potential of a building which will be much, much closer to my property. So thank you for listening to my concerns.
Thank you. State your name and your address, please.
Hi, good evening. Gina Gervais, 3921 Gildas Lane. I actually live in phase 1 of the townhomes, and my concern for the additional change in zoning to townhome is partially due to traffic being one of them. Lady Tesla has become the Indy 500. Our neighbors 2 years ago contacted the city about finally putting a stop sign halfway down Lady Tesla to stop people from speeding. And even with a 3-way stop sign at Lady Bet and Lady Tesla, it's still ridiculous. I'm out walking 3-4 times a day with my dog, and I can't tell you how many times I've almost been run over. So that's one of my big concerns, is putting in rezoning more families in that space is going to create more traffic. The other thing is with the extension of Windhaven now, people are cutting through to get to 544 on Lady Tesla, also going through a residential neighborhood. And we've even talked about the neighbors about petitioning to get gates put up because that's how bad it's getting. So traffic is a priority for me personally, as well as my neighbors in the townhomes in phase 1. The other is the fact that, again, we were sold on a concept as well that we were buying into a community that would have lots of green space for walking, parks, and things like they had over in the original Castle Hills track. And, finding out that we were all sold on a bag of lies is really, in my mind, unacceptable. Because others, I think I myself personally would have made another choice to where I chose to live. And then the townhomes themselves, again, I'm an original owner from the original track, phase 1, and I can tell you at least 60% of my neighborhood now is all rental units. We have a parking problem on the streets because there are 6-7 people with cars living in these townhomes now that we're only meant to hold maybe 2 cars for a family. So that's becoming an issue to the point where safety for fire trucks and things to get down, because the streets are narrow already, they wouldn't be able to get through because there's just cars blocking the roadway all the time. So those are my 3 big concerns. Again, the traffic, the multifamily townhomes with renters moving in eventually, and then the speeding, big problem. So thank you.
Thank you. State your name and your address, please.
My name's Alan Ralph. I live at 3716 Sir Kelly Street. And my concern is with some of the numbers that they presented. They're supposed to be capped at 5,000, they're saying. But they said there's already 2,368 built. And they make it seem like they're doing us a favor by putting townhomes in. But still, the number is going to be an additional 2,676. That puts it over 5,000 multifamily. Is that correct?
So one of the apartment complexes that's built within that area where they're referencing the numbers is already built, and so it was referenced.
2,368, you said?
I'd have to look it back up, but it's about that. But one of the apartment units is already completed, and so that was in my number of what was already built, and it's in their number of what could be built in this area.
Okay, and it's 5,000 total?
Correct.
And if they build another one that was originally zoned for 2,996, that would put it way over 5,000, right?
They're including the one that's already in there that was also included in my number.
So that
Yeah.
2,368 is included in the 2,678 that's proposed?
So the number that I gave you includes Tapestry, and the number that they gave you also includes Tapestry.
Oh, so the proposed also includes
Yeah.
the Tapestry, okay. And I'm also with the neighbors. We feel like we've been deceived, and we kind of want the same quality of life that they have in the original Castle Hills. We were told that we would be part of the original, and there would be trails that we could use services to go over to the original part of Castle Hills. That never went through either, and we just feel deceived and just a lack of integrity on the part of the builders.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? State your name and address, please.
My name is Eric Stanley. I live at 901 Carlisle Drive. I represent Bright Realty and the developer. Let me address, and I appreciate the chance being able to speak. I live in a neighborhood that I got the notice of this meeting tonight, and I'm well aware of what's being planned because it's part of my job. There have been a couple of mentions about deception. I want to make it clear, Bright Realty has no relationship, doesn't own, doesn't operate, doesn't have anything to do with American Legend, the home building company. The home building company is their own company. They do their own thing. Their salespeople do their own stuff. The city staff, the current city manager, the former city manager, Michelle, a number of others, along with me and my staff and engineers, worked diligently per state law after annexation to get the PD put in place, which wasn't perfect, but did address all the major issues. We continue to work with one another in a spirit of cooperation and trying to figure out things to make things make sense. The railroad right-of-way, if memory serves, is somewhere over 300, it may even be 400 feet wide, at the location of the gentleman who lives on 100 Nights, away from the track that was zoned GB2 as part of the PD. And as additional part of that PD, the GB2 is allowed multifamily above a commercial use in an unlimited amount, which this is zoned, which is why staff is in favor of it. The area north of Lady Tasala was all zoned MF3 as part of that PD. We and our engineers and staff have worked diligently with Richard and Michelle and others to come up with a game plan for this rezoning from multifamily to TH2 and moving units north of the power line that we're going to be down in this area closer to these neighbors. We also worked with staff on an agreement as part of this revised concept plan to push the setback of the multifamily further from the right-of-way than what is required in GB2 current zoning, to get a little further away from the houses. And I haven't deceived anybody. Anybody calls me, I'll tell them exactly what the plan is. And I'll also tell them that the plan is subject to change without notice, because it is. Market conditions change, things move. We started developing Castle Hills in 1996 in an agreement with you guys that was about that thick, and it worked perfectly till we got annexed in 2021. I appreciate your time. I will answer any questions you all have. And if any of you guys would like my card to contact me directly with concerns or issues, I have a pocket full. Okay.
Thank you.
You don't. Perfect.
Hello, Hina Narang, 817 Lady Tasala Drive. So I'm here on behalf, so my husband couldn't make it. He did send an email with our concerns. Like most of our neighbors, we moved in very recently. Honestly, we moved in Jan of this year. We had our house built. It was a new build, and with all the sales and marketing schemes that were put up, we were told this the house opposite the space opposite us is going to be all green. There are certain health issues that I was going through, and we were very specific with our sales team, and they did say they'd work with Bright Realty and they know what the probably what it's going to be, but it's all going to be just like the rest of Castle Hills, and it's going to be a green space. Come 6 months, we moved into the house. We put in a large lot premium just to face a green space, and we get to know just 6 months moving in that, hey, you would have multi-family homes and townhomes built right in your face. So as soon as you come out of your garage, all you can see is maybe the parking lot, or since we are at the junction. So now that we saw the plan, it was not very clear, but thanks to the city of Lewisville, everything was available online, and the teams, I think my husband reached out to someone and he told us exactly how to see it on the website. And it was brought to our notice that we live at a junction wherein there's going to be a segregation of townhomes as well as the multifamily homes. So as we come out, we're going to have an array wherein one side we see 2-story homes and the other side we see 5-story buildings. So it's just something that's very concerning, and just to bring to the notice of the city, we have almost maybe over 150 homes in our small neighborhood. And not everybody is aware because many of them are traveling. We got the notice just 1 week back, and many could not make it because of predetermined plans. And we would like to probably just give the neighborhood a year and see if everything can work in our favor. Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, I will close the public hearing at this point in time. Commissioners, questions, comments?
I have a question, Michelle. I just need some clarification on this 3.459 acre strip of property south of Essex. I'm familiar with, this part of Castle Hills. I'm there quite often because of work and driving through, and I'm very happy that Ked's Ice Cream opened up over there. It's a family favorite, so we're there quite often. If memory serves me correctly, that South Essex, Essex and 544 is basically also entrance into a neighborhood. So this specific 3.459 acres that we're talking about, what exactly is going to be that land? Was that what was originally platted for the medical suites or the pad sites, and now that specific 3.459 is going to be retail with apartments? Am I understanding this correctly?
Hold on, I'm trying to pull the exhibit up for you. The PowerPoint slides are being a little difficult tonight. Yeah, so the property that's south of 544 is that 3.4-ish acres. And it was, the concept plan showed it to be 8 kind of retail office pad site lots. The base zoning is GB2, and so that does allow for the use that is being proposed, which is why that's part of the concept plan amendment, but not a separate zone change. And I think that's what came up a little bit, and I think that was part of your question. Forgive me, I forget what the other part was.
Yeah, I was just specifically what is going on that. And so the rest of the 50-plus acres, which are a fourth of a mile down, are going to be...
Yeah, so this is here, the
Townhomes
concept plan amendment for this 3.4-ish acres, where it's going from like 8 pads to a mixed-use concept. And then the remaining of it is the north of Lady Tasala, where it's all currently zoned multifamily 3, and that's where the 10 acres is that would be rezoned to townhouse 2, and then they're amending the layout of an additional 40 acres.
And of that 10 acres, the townhomes, we said about 87 units?
87 units.
All right.
Questions,
Are
comments?
Michelle, the 87 units that are going to take in this 10 acres, is that mostly what the neighbors are referring to, that they're going to see when they come out their front door? They're going to see these 87, this 10 acres with these townhouses on them? Or?
So, no, so the way that it is split, and let me find a good exhibit for you, give me just a second here. The way that it's split is there's townhomes on the south side that are, or not townhomes, there are single-family homes on the south side of Lady Tasala that are already constructed that face north towards Lady Tasala. On the north side of Lady Tasala, I'm going to say the eastern half is multifamily, and the western half, and half is very roughly used here, the western half would be townhomes. And so let me try and see if I can't zoom in on this so that you can see that just a little bit. I'm going to try pulling up a different exhibit, actually, just so we can zoom in and see that a little more clearly. So right here, well, I don't think you can see my mouse. But you can see in the proposed concept plan, which is on the right side of the screen, you can see the new townhome development here. That's kind of at the southwest, and then you can see that it's multifamily over on the eastern portion of that block. And there's townhomes all along Lady Tasala on the south side of Lady Tasala. So some people will be across from the multifamily and some people will be across from where it's being rezoned to townhomes. Did that make that more clear?
Yeah, it did. Yeah,
okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, I have a question around, has there been a traffic study as to what this change from the retail in that 3.5 acres would be to an apartment complex?
So we haven't had a traffic study done yet. When the original PD was adopted, we did have a traffic impact analysis done, but that focused a lot kind of in the Crown Center area. For this, they are moving, likely relocating quite a large number of multifamily units north, kind of out of this immediate vicinity. And so we haven't done a traffic impact analysis because we are moving in total more residential units kind of away from this exact vicinity. Did you want to add to that?
Yeah. I think you're asking the question about the south of 544?
Yes.
Yes, the TIA was required and has been ordered on that.
Okay.
To decide whether or not it warrants a light.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we don't have that yet, but the purpose would be to see if it
We've
warrants a
ordered
light.
it, it's
Yeah.
in process.
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else? I see lots of things.
I'm sorry. The multifamily just doesn't sit well with me on that 3.5 acres. I mean, I know that that's not a part of this, and I'm sorry.
I would agree, just because I know that area, and like I said, I was there recently, in that little strip, I also really feel for you guys, whatever American Legend told you, and I know they're completely separate from Bright, so the impression that's out there that Bright owns them, I know that's categorically not true, because I work in this industry. I am a realtor myself. I've sold extensively in that area, and you shouldn't have been told what you were told. So I want every single one of you residents that are sitting there know that my heart really goes out to you, and I completely understand your frustration. I'm in those sales offices 24/7, day in and day out, and the sun, the moon, and the stars, everything is told to you, and that was highly irresponsible of American Legend. So you're valid in your feelings, and I just wanted to acknowledge that. Please know whatever outcome we come to tonight, you are completely validated in feeling duped if that's what American Legend sold you, and it wasn't correct. I just wanted to put that out there.
I have a question of staff. For that small portion, that 3-some odd acre, are there any design concept plans that might be able to represent the reality of what's being talked about, as opposed, I know without being able to see something, a concept can
Yes,
be
we don't have any
imagined in many different ways.
Yeah, it could be. So the railroad right-of-way is about 200 feet. The building setback from the single-family residential property line is farther than that. It's like 350-ish feet. If we're talking about this area that's south of 544. So it is set back quite a ways from the single-family that's across the railroad right-of-way. We don't have an elevation for that yet, but it is about a 7,000 square foot footprint, which isn't terribly large. When you think of like a small retail strip center, that's about what it is with residential above, and about 50-ish, 60-ish units above.
Michelle?
We've closed public.
I can reopen the public hearing if you have a comment, sir.
I do. Again, it's Rick Vidal. I'm at 2801 100 Nights. The perception that the property is 300 or 400 feet away is incorrect. I've measured it. I've walked it. I've looked at it on satellite and measured it on Google Earth. My back fence to that property line is approximately 160 feet. It's not 300 feet, it's not 400 feet. That's why I got a notice, because I'm within 200 feet of the property. And again, the original concept for that property, I think that's perfectly acceptable. 1 to 2 story retail office type, complex. And I've seen those, where we live. There's a number of those type of properties. They look residential, and they fit in with the neighborhood and surrounding area very, very well. A 5-story multi-family unit with however many units she's talking about, that does not fit in that space. It just does not fit. It's a very awkward, small lot. And again, that lot didn't exist before they realigned FM 544. So when they moved the road, all of a sudden there's property there between the railroad property and the street. So to try to stuff something like that in there, I think is totally inappropriate. The original plan, I think, works very well. No problem. Again, I didn't move next to an airport and complain about the noise. I moved in next to something that was zoned as that, and it's perfectly acceptable. Now they're trying to change it and put an airport in there. So that's my concern. I think my neighbors would have been here tonight if the notice that we received had included that strip of property. It did not. It only included the 50 acres. And I didn't notice it until I saw a sign out there, and I called the city to find out what was going on. So I'm sure that there would be more just like me here at this meeting tonight if the notice had included that piece of property. So that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come, state your name. I have not yet closed the public hearing again. State your name and address, please.
Reg Varghese, 713 Lady Tesla. My wife came earlier. I'm still not sure exactly where that multifamily is going to be. We live closer to Lady Betty, towards the eastern side. And looking at the picture, I think it's mostly coming to be multifamily. And I'm not sure exactly where the entrance is. That hasn't been stated yet. And I've always complained to the police regarding people traveling fast, not stopping at the stop sign, speeding, and once they open from Windhaven to Parker, it's become like a throughway. People are coming across our road fast and not even stopping, as another neighbor had mentioned. So I'm really concerned with the position of the multifamily. So if they can explain exactly where it's going to be, if it's closer towards the Tapestry, it can be away from Lady Tesla. But if it's right in front of Lady Tesla, that means that the entrance has to be on Lady Tesla, causing a lot of gridlock, traffic, multiple cars speeding through. So I definitely like to see exactly where the multifamily is going to be. They mentioned between Essex and Lady Betty, but I don't really know exactly. We are closer to Lady Betty, and looking at the picture, it looks like the multifamily is coming right in front. And I'm thinking multifamily means an apartment complex. Is that a better way? Is that the better way of saying multifamily, or? Okay, so I think that's going to really drive the cost down, the property value. And I think my suggestion is to push it towards the northern part, towards the Tapestry, and have some residential, if you can put it up. But the time when we moved in, I was told that they're going to put some fountains right in front of our property. So definitely that's what I was expecting. So I just want to put my case there. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I can clarify some of those questions if you would like. Yes, so the multifamily would be a minimum of 40 feet from Lady Tesala. The access to the multifamily is currently shown to be from Lady Betty, not from Lady Tesala. So it would have a drive from Lady Betty, and that would be where most of the access would come through. And then there was one other thing, I'm sorry, that I'm forgetting. Yeah, apartments is another word for multifamily. But we did also talk to the developer about potentially reconfiguring the whole block between Lady Betty and Lady Tesala so that we could have townhomes all along Lady Tesala and push the multifamily closer to Lady Betty and the existing multifamily in the Tapestry. But the geometry of the space did not really work out for that in fitting the multifamily wraps. Also wanted to clarify that these are garage parked multifamily wraps, so there will not be like large parking lots. Several people mentioned looking at parking lots. It would not be parking lots. They would be in garages that the building wraps.
Thank you, Michelle.
Notice.
Oh, and then for the notice, we did mention both areas where the concept plan was being amended in that notice. We did call out in the notice the 50 acres by Lady Tesala and Essex and the 3-ish acres south of FM 544. I do understand, though, that reading those legal notices are sometimes difficult to read as we're required to put in the legal descriptions, which is not the most intuitive language out there. We did also have a map on the back, but I understand that's also hard to read due to the scale. We did our best, but we did include it in there.
Thank you. I'm going to close the public hearing, and I want to thank...
We have one more.
Got one more. Excuse me. Come ahead.
2?
Oh. Two more.
Sorry. Hina Narang, 817 Lady Tesala Drive. Just a quick point. So when we saw the map, like the one on the left, the current base district zoning, there was a clear segregation between our houses so we live on Lady Tesala. There was a clear segregation between our houses, a good green space, and then the multifamily homes. So, when we bought a house in Castle Hills, we did go around the community. Even though there are multifamily homes or apartments in the neighborhood, they are very well segregated between single family as well. And there's like a good road, there's a good gap. But looking at this, from the current one, when there is a good segregation and there's a lot of open space, so we don't really look at it. Versus now, wherein the multifamily home does become our view for the rest of time, really driving down our prices and our house values, because we did pay a premium to stay in Castle Hills, like you would know. So just a pointer there. Thank you.
Daniel Jung, 733 Lady Tesla. Yeah, so I'd just like to second the young lady right before me. The previous plan very clearly shows a green space between Lady Tesla and where the buildings would start. And so I'd just like to point that out. That's something that we had lost. And it was just pointed out that the building would be 40 feet from Lady Tesla. There's another more detailed photo that was posted online that shows the proposed the corner of a building. If you see these rectangles over here, this small narrow rectangles, that is actually appears to be the building of the apartment complex. One corner of it, of the detailed, shows basically touching the street right there. Those two rectangles over there, there's a bigger one and there's a smaller one right there. Those are the parking garages on it. And yes, I understand that they're not parking lots, they're parking garages, but it also does say on it those are 5-story parking garages. So I'd just like to point that out.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay. State your name and your address, please.
Thank you. My name is Frank Schmaling, 3549 Damsel Brook Street. My concern is the multifamily for the 3.54 acres, or whatever the exact acres is, on Parker Road. That is or 544, that is a 50-mile-an-hour zone as you're coming out. And when you're leaving from there, I'm the first block in off of Essex. It's difficult to go, I'm not sure directionally, so I'm very challenged on that. But to head towards Josie, it's very difficult to cross over. And so because you're coming over where the railroad positioned is, the overpass for the railroad. And so now potentially looking at a 5-story apartment complex, or however, multifamily, however you have to designate it, I think it's very difficult, because unless with the traffic study shows to put a light, there's 2 entrances and exits coming from Castle Hills North Point to 544. And sometimes there's people that are making the U-turn to go towards Josie Lane. And if you're coming out from Essex, it's very difficult. So without a light there, it's potentially a blind spot. I don't know where the entrance would be for the multifamily on that 3.54 acre. And so I'm just concerned that I think it's going to create even more traffic and more difficulty and more accidents, because you're coming over the overpass there off of 544. And again, without further information to know exactly where those buildings would be and the egress and the entrance to those locations, it's just concerning that we already hear 544 sometimes as a highway, a speedway, as people are going by and motorcycles or whatever. And so I just think adding more traffic to that is going to create potential for more accidents at that area. So thank you.
Thank you.
And that intersection is where the traffic impact analysis is being done for, to see if that does merit a signal, because that is where the entrance would be, where there is already that median break.
Excellent. Thank you. Now I'm going to close the public hearing. Questions?
I got 2 things.
Okay.
I really have an issue with this apartment complex and that 3.5 acres just south of Parker. That doesn't sit well with me. So I don't know if there's a way to push that into its own voting category. I'll defer to staff to answer that. But my second point is, I like the idea of the townhomes going all along Lady Tesla, because I live over off of Summit, and when there is not enough parking in an apartment complex, they park on the street. And that creates its own traffic havoc. And so I am not a fan of street parking if you can avoid it. So there, I've said my piece. Thank you.
With,
Go ahead.
just following up with the traffic survey or the traffic analysis being done in that area, will there be a capacity component to that analysis? So if a particularly large development went in, would there be some scale, study of scale of that development to see what would be capable of being supported in the area or not?
The way that it's being designed now, and Eric Stanley can correct me if I'm wrong since he's ordered it and we haven't actually reviewed it yet, but it's looking at if this development goes in here, what will the traffic flow be with the proposed 5-story development? I don't believe it's going to look into a lot of alternatives, and it's to see if a light would be required and merited at that intersection, or if any other improvements to the intersection would be required to adequately handle the traffic that's generated.
So how I'm hearing that is the study that's being described is more of a signalization study as opposed to a capacity study.
I will let Mr. Stanley, since he has ordered it.
What we were asked to do is do a traffic impact analysis of that proposed development south of 544, which that property is zoned for per the PD. So we're not doing a rezoning. It's a concept plan change. And my understanding is they're going to look at everything. They're going to look at what's proposed up here north, what could feed down there, the 58 or 60 units that are proposed on this site. And while my property line on this site may be a little closer to the gentleman's property line, I have an additional TXU easement that I think is 100 feet wide that I can't do anything in Even Park. I have to stay out of it. There's no power line there. It's for the future. That's the reason for my 300 or so feet. Does that answer your question?
In terms of the broad nature of the study, yes. Thank you.
Yeah, I think they're considering everything.
Thank you. Commissioners?
So my last question for Michelle, I think Ainsley and I kind of are in agreement on this. From our perspective, when we vote tonight, is there any way to separate the concept plan change for that 3.459 acres from the rest of this consideration? Like, how is it throwing the baby out with the bathwater? Is there a way to what do we, how do we?
You could do that, yes. So there's, you can make a recommendation. You're making a recommendation to the city council, right? So you're making a recommendation on changing the base zoning district on 10 acres and changing the concept plan on 54 acres. You can add, if you believe it necessary, some considerations or caveats to that recommendation. Similar to like you would for a planned development, any planned development type thing. That's my understanding. So you could recommend approval of the concept plan as presented, and you could recommend approval of the zone change as presented. The concept plan is about 54 acres in total, again, a little less than 4 south of FM 544, and the remainder north of Lady Tussala.
Okay, thank you.
So as an example of that potential recommendation would be, would a reduction or a limit of the 5-story to something less than that be an appropriate observation?
Or would it be keeping it the same as what was intended with the pad sites and the garden suites or offices or whatnot?
Yeah, in terms of limiting the building, conceptually, it's a mixed-use building, and the zoning allows for it. The base zoning allows for it to be that high, so that gets very tricky. And I don't know that, but that's also something we could look into a little bit more. I don't know, Richard, if you have any thoughts.
There's quite a bit of different options here. A lot depends on the applicant. If you could reopen the public hearing and continue it to give the applicant time to maybe revisit some of these ideas. Or you could, like Michelle said, you can add conditions to the proposal tonight, basically making some tweaks to the different components. So you've got a variety of different options ahead of you.
That helps, okay. So I'm just gonna, if we're discussing amongst ourselves, where I am heavily leaning is that 3.459 acres. It just does not sit right with me having, just because I'm familiar with that intersection. If I live there, I don't think it's right. I don't think it's a fit for the neighborhood. The intended use to me sounded really good with pad sites and separate, like garden, suites, retail, general business, whatever, but putting up to 5 stories above it in that small, tight space, if whatever the motion we make, I would like to add a consideration or caveat or some sort of change specifically regarding that 3.459 acres, that we not change the concept which was originally intended.
Make your motion.
Okay, a lot of word vomit there. Let me try to clean this up for you a little, but okay. I make a motion. Gosh. With this down, I need it in front of me so I can say it right.
It's a challenge.
Does that help you any?
No, it doesn't, because I have that too. Okay, so I guess I move to approve the consideration of a zone change from planned development multifamily 3 district to planned development townhome. The original concept. Is that worded correctly?
So we want to approve the base, my understanding of the motion is to recommend approval of the zone change on the 10.2 acres from PDTH2 from PDMF3 to PDTH2, and to recommend approval of the concept plan amendment for the 50.5 acres that's north of Lady Tasala in Essex, but not to recommend denial, it would be, of the concept plan amendment that is south of FM 544 of the 3.4 acres.
I don't know if this,
We're mid-motion here, so hang on.
well, I'd like to speak before you act on your motion.
No.
We can't, the public hearing's already been closed.
Yeah, we've closed the public hearing at this point. We're mid-motion.
You can, the commission can take comment from the applicant, which Mr. Stanley is.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Stanley, we can hear you.
You can?
Yes, we can.
Okay. The current concept plan calls for 8 structures, as we've noted. There is nothing to preclude a developer of building 8 5-story buildings on it or higher in this current zoning. I'm not asking for a zoning change to do the multifamily above the commercial property. I recognize it's a little different. I recognize one gentleman across the railroad track and across an easement is going to have a view of something he wasn't going to have. But I don't believe you're solving your long-term issue by taking this action and sending me back to the drawing board, because I've got to try to figure out what's the highest and best use of that real estate. And it's zoned, it was part of the PD, and it's been tested and been used, and I just am saying this doesn't solve the problem. It gets 50 multifamily units out of the way for now, but it doesn't solve the height issue or multifamily for that reason anyway. Thanks.
So since I made the motion, I'm going to speak on this, and thank you for voicing your opinion, but I feel like we up here, first of all, are volunteers, and we're citizens of Lewisville. And when Castle Hills was annexed into Lewisville, I personally don't see them as any different as any of our neighbors over here. And so if I was living in that part of Lewisville, I don't feel like a 5-story multifamily apartment above retail fitted on that small of a spot is good for the community. And we are a community here, and that's something in this room, in this building, in this city, we feel really, really strongly about, is fostering community. So when a large subsect of our community, or even a small subsect, doesn't matter the size, is in here with telling us that their quality of life and is going to be greatly affected, and I tend to agree with that, I would like us all to work together as neighbors and stakeholders to come up with a best use. And again, I'm in real estate myself. I understand market, I understand best use, I understand the money, I understand the economics, but I also understand a quality of life issue. So I'm gonna take a little bit of exception because from what you just stated, I kind of got a little bit of a bullying vibe from it, like, okay, do what you must, but just know I'm gonna come back with the same thing. And I kind of take, just personally, I'm not speaking for anyone else over here, but I do take a little bit of exception to the tone of your rebuttal. My motion stands. The rest of you guys can vote as you please.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Aram, a second by Ainsley. Commissioners, voice vote, please.
Can you make it clear if it's all in favor or in opposition? I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm in favor.
And those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There are 6 in favor, or 5 in favor. Opposed? Motion carries.
Commissioners, this item will be considered by the City Council at a second public hearing. They will be making a final decision on Monday, August the 19th, 2024 at 7:00 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. We have one last item for this evening. Consider amending the ordinance 042822 ZON for Castle Hills by amending Section 5, the realm sub-district, to add specific landscaping standards to the realm sub-district, and amending Section 6, public and private improvements, to allow front entry lots less than 10,000 square feet in Castle Hills.
Good evening, Commissioners. So with the Castle Hills PD, it also said, well, if we want to amend this PD, let's set forward a process for it, just because it is so large and complex and it does encompass such a large area. That's not typically the process to amend PDs, but we did establish that within this PD, and so that does stand. And so what the applicant is requesting to do with this text amendment to the Castle Hills PD is 2 things. The first thing is to allow front entry units less than 10,000 square feet. So the way the current PD was drafted, lots had to be over 10,000 square feet in order to be front entry. However, during the development prior to annexation, they did get numerous variances, as that was the process established at the time from the City Council to do smaller lots that were front entry, which is why you see a lot of those types of developments in Castle Hills today. So this would be amending the text to allow front entry units that are less than 10,000 square feet, which would be very similar to some of the duplex and townhomes that you already see in Castle Hills. And then the second amendment would be only applicable to the realm sub-district, and it would just establish what the planting requirements are in the 10-foot landscape strip adjacent to a right-of-way. It'd be 1 shade tree per every 500 square feet of landscape strip or fraction thereof. And then with any head-in parking, a landscape island would be, or 90-degree parking is another term for that, and a landscape island would be required at the end of all rows of parking spaces, and a ratio of 1 landscape island for every 15 parking spaces. Landscape islands must be spaced no more than 15 parking spaces apart. It must be 9 by 18 in size and contain 1 3-inch caliper shade tree unless utilities are present, and then they can use an ornamental tree. And that does reflect to a large extent, what was in place prior to annexation, and it just sort of clarifies that that applies to the realm as well. So I'm here if you have any questions on that.
Questions? Seems pretty clear. Yeah. I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak, come forward, please.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to get the right thing up on the screen so that we're not getting confused.
State your name and address, please, for the record.
Apologies, we need a mouse up here.
So Michelle, were we going to have an image or?
I'm not sure why it's not displaying. I just actually have the text, the caption for the item up. I just didn't want to be confused.
So it's,
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure we didn't miss anything.
Thank you. Having no one come forward, I will close the public hearing. Commissioners, questions, comments?
It sounds to me that this is just a move to make this more consistent.
Correct. So it would allow the front entry units. So for example, the townhome rezoning that they're requesting today, those could be then front entry units. Similar, again, to the duplexes and townhomes that are already under construction in the vicinity.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Approve the
Amendment ordinance?
The text amendments to the Castle Hills PD as presented.
Yes, thank you.
I have a motion from Jack.
Second.
Second from Rick. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It unanimous, and the ordinance just passed. We sent that
Commissioners.
to council. That goes to council, correct?
Yes, this item will be considered by the city council at a second public hearing where there will be, and after we'll be making a final decision on Monday, August the 19th, 2024 at 7:00 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Announcements, Michelle?
No announcement.
No announcements. In that case, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn from Aram.
Second.
Second from,
Jack.
what, from Jack. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.